Welcome to Kolme Group's clarizen Function in a Flash, where each episode we introduce you to a new clarizen function and show you how to use it. Hi, I'm Cornelia Homewood, and I'm one of the senior consultants at Kolme Group. I am a certified PMP and organizational change practitioner. I have been configuring clarizen since 2019. With me today is Grant.
Hi, I'm Grant McAllister. I am also a certified PMP with over 10 years project management and business analysis experience. I love exploring all the functions in clarizen. Today, we're diving into the GetPreviousValue function, which we use when we need to get the previous value of a field in clarizen.
So let's say I want to compare new information with the most recent information on a field. Basically, the system is seeing a changing of data, and we can use this to reference that previous value.
That's exactly right. And because GetPreviousValue is all about when data changes, it is almost always accompanied by another function, IsChanged. Now that function is covered by another video, but a quick summary is that we use IsChanged to help minimize when rules are fired off in the system.
That's right. Let's first look at the syntax for GetPreviousValue, and then we can see how it works with IsChanged.
Here is the syntax: get previous value, and inside the parentheses, include the field you are evaluating.
Excellent. Can you show a super easy example so we can see how it works in real life?
Yes, an easy way to learn new functions is by dropping them into a custom action. However, one important thing to know about both IsChanged and GetPreviousValue is they can't run on a custom action or a scheduled workflow rule. Custom actions are triggered by a user, scheduled workflow rules are triggered on a schedule, and GetPreviousValue and IsChanged are triggered directly by the system based on defined evaluation criteria. So for today's video, instead of a custom action, I've set up a very simple workflow rule. Okay, here's my project. And on the property card, I have two fields, current update and previous update. My current update says Monday update 1, 2, 3. And let's go ahead and add that. Let's go ahead and update that to be a Tuesday update. All right, you'll see that my Monday update moved over to this field, my previous update field.
Awesome. So if you type Wednesday, then the other field would now say Tuesday?
Let's give it a try. And there, my Wednesday field now is here, and my Tuesday field went over here. All right, so you can see what's going on here. I'm going to hover over previous update, and this is where I'm using my function. So this field is updated by this function, GetPreviousValue, and then the current update. So it's pulling over the current update field and putting it right there.
I love the tooltip showing us behind the scenes configuration. I could see myself even using something like this on my own projects to have a quick summary of what we covered last week for reference. What other use cases are there for this function?
There are lots of examples of business rules where knowing the previous value is important. We'll quickly review 3. Okay, the first up is enforcing project lifecycle. Let's say you have governance in place that prevents project managers from moving a project back into a requested state once it's left that state. We'll review how this can be done using a simple validation rule. Next, we'll look at how you can alert on a status change. Project sponsors are often needing to know the moment a project shifts from on track to at risk. We'll review this using a workflow rule. And lastly, we have notify on assignment change. Project assignments sometimes change mid-project, so our last example will be a workflow rule to notify a project manager when their project coordinator changes.
Oh, I am excited about these use cases. Just last week, I had a resource change. So let's go see clarizen and see these in action.
Okay, our first example is enforcing the project lifecycle. Here are the different states of this project, and you'll see that we're currently in the active state. And we have a PMO who wants to enforce that it can't go back to requested.
That makes sense because once a project has been activated, you would either cancel it or put it on hold. You wouldn't put it back to requested.
Exactly. And I have a validation rule in place, so let's try to send it back. There we go.
All right. Note, you attempted to move a project back to requested state. Once projects leave the requested state, they can't go back.
Yeah, and I have included here the evaluation criteria. This would not be visible to the user, but I put that here for us to review what's going on here. So this rule is triggered once the state was changed to requested and the previous state was not requested. So that's basically meaning once this has left requested, it can't go back. And that's how I'm using GetPreviousValue in this rule.
Awesome. What is the next use case?
For our second example, we want to notify the project sponsor when a project moves from on track to off track. Let's go ahead and give that a try. Okay, so here we have a notification pop up, but this could easily be an email that goes to the project sponsor to say that your project has moved off track. And you'll see here is, once again, here's my evaluation criteria that I'm using, which is very similar to the last rule, where if the status is changed to at risk when it was previously on track, go ahead and trigger this notification.
This is a good example, especially for companies that require more rigor or visibility for their projects. Alerting sponsors when projects may need them to step in and help escalate is essential.
Okay, for our third example, we want to let the PM know when their project coordinator has changed. So right here we have a project coordinator, Joe, and we're going to change that from Joe to Tim or Timmy. See if this works here. Okay. So this also brought up a notification message, but this could easily also be an email that just says, "Hi, project manager, you have a new coordinator," and it gives the name of the previous coordinator and the new coordinator. Let's have a look at how that's set up in the back end. So here is my workflow rule. It's triggered off of that change to the project coordinator field. And then I'm using a variable to store the name of the previous project coordinator. So I have my GetPreviousValue project coordinator, and that's being stored into a variable that I can then reference and my email to the project manager right here.
You know, Grant, understanding the powers of variables and configuration is a key part of being efficient in configurations. So in this case, you are basically adding a temporary value, which is the variable of previous PC that you mentioned. And clarizen is only going to see that temporary data within this configuration specifically. So down below, you are pulling in the variable, which is a reference to the user object, and cleaning it up for the notification to only show the display name of that user.
That's right.
I'd like to point out in your very first simple example, when we looked at the updates, we showed the audience this function with 2 fields. But in reality, when we use it, you only need to use 1 field because we are looking at that previous value of just that field.
I wanted to touch base on a few more use cases. You can set up your workflow rule to trigger notifications when a field changes by a certain amount. These are calculations. For example, due date. Maybe you want to notify the project sponsor if a project due date moves out past 2 weeks. In that case, you can use date diff function to look at the difference between the current due date and the previous due date. And if that's more than 2 weeks, it'll trigger notification. You can also do % complete if you want to notify your project manager if the % complete of a task jumps by more than 50%. In this case, the formula is, current % complete minus the previous % complete.
Awesome. I feel like GetPreviousValue is one of those really great configuration functions that we all use all the time. What else should we know about GetPreviousValue?
Yes, a few quick tips to remember when using this function. Once again, this is often paired with IsChanged, so make sure you're keeping an eye out for that. Also, like we mentioned before, you can't use this with a custom action or a scheduled workflow rule. And lastly, you can't use this function on a workflow rule where a record is edited and did not previously meet that rule criteria.
Thank you, Grant, for walking us through the function GetPreviousValue. As always, if you have questions on this function and you found this useful and are ready to take your clarizen skills to the next level, check out the link below for Kolme University or reach out for individual consulting and training for you and your organization.